between Lady Mary Oldystyle and Hortio. I know him well, said Horatio, with a half-suppressed sigh, as he finished the introductory chapter to the first volume of the English Spy, or Colloquial Sketches of Men and Manners. He is no misanthrope, said my aunt, taking off her spectacles to wipe away the pearly drop which meek-eyed pity gave to the recollection of scenes long past. Horatio paused the book, dropped instinctively upon his knee, as his raised eye involuntarily caught the benign aspect of virtue and intelligence, softened by the crystal gems of feeling. I wish I knew where he lived, said my aunt. I'll find him out, said Horatio. Do, said my aunt, and tell him an old friend of his father's, on whom fortune has deigned to smile in the winter of her days, would fain extend to him as much of worldly happiness as can be derived from the enjoyment of worldly treasure. 18 by that sort of magical attraction which imperceptibly links together the souls of kindred spirits, Horatio's chair had made an angular movement, of at least 6 degrees, in a direction nearer to his venerable relation. No lover ever pressed with more fervency of affection the yielding hand of his soul's deity than did the grateful nephew, at this moment, clasp within his eager grasp the aged palm of bounteous charity. I wish he may accept your kind offer, said Horatio. And why should he not? Said my aunt, with a half-inclination of extricating her hand and a penetrating glance of doubt directed full in the face of the speaker. I know not, said Horatio, hesitating as if fearful of giving offense, but what? Said my aunt, but I fear his natural love of independence and eccentricity of mind will admit of no constraint, which his high sense of honor will anticipate must be partially the case whenever he submits himself to accept the favors of even such generous hearts as yours. He would feel no such thing, said my aunt. He could not resist the impression, said Horatio. Your liberality would, I know, be calculated to dispossess him of the painful sensation. But if the inherent pride of the man could be subdued or calmed into acquiescence by breathing the enchanting air of friendship, the weight of gratitude, the secret monitor of fine-wrought minds would overpower his tongue and leave him, in his own estimation, a pauper of the poorest class. Then I'll adopt another mode, said my aunt, and though I hate the affectation of secret charities, because I think the donor of a generous action is well entitled to his reward, both here and hereafter I'll hand out some way anonymously or otherwise to indulge my humor of serving him. You are an angel, said Horatio, with his eyes fixed on the ground. The spirit of the angel of benevolence, quoth Reason, whispering in his ear, would have been. A better metaphor certainly inhabits the aged bosom of your father's sister. Horatio's upraised eye rested on the wrinkled front of his antique relative, just as the corrective thought gleamed in visionary brightness o'er his brain. The poetic inspiration of the moment fled like the passing meteor, but the feeling which excited it remained engrafted on his memory forever. How shall we find him out, my dear Horatio? Said my aunt, her whole countenance animated with delight at the last flattering ejaculation of her nephew. Where shall we seek him? I'll order the carriage directly. The glow of pleasure and anticipatory gratification, which at this moment beamed in the countenance of the old lady, brought back the circling current of health to the cheeks of age, and, with the blush of honest feeling, dispelled the stains of time. The furrowed streaks of care vanished from her front and left her whole frame proportionably invigorated. If the mere contemplation of a generous action can thus inspire the young, and give new life to age, what a load of misery and deformity might not the sons and daughters of nature divest themselves of, by following the inherent dictates of benevolence. Reflection, whenever he deigned to penetrate the pericranium of my cousin Horatio, took entire possession of the citadel, and left him not even the smallest loophole for the observation of any passing event. He was just fixed in one of these abstracted reveries of the mind, traversing over the halcyon scenes of his collegiate days, and reassociating himself with his early friend, the author of the eccentric volume then in his hand, when the above monitions sprung from his heart, like the crystal stream that sparkles in the air, when first it bursts through the mineral bondage of the womb of nature. You are right, said my aunt. Horatio started with surprise, almost unconscious of her presence, or ~20 what he had said to deserve her approbation. True happiness, she continued, is the offspring of generosity and virtue, and never inhabits a bosom where worldly interest and selfish principles are allowed to predominate. There are many who possess all the requisites for the enjoyment of true happiness, who, from the prejudices of education or the mistaken pride of ancestry, have never experienced the celestial rapture. They have never been amalgamated with society, are strangers to poverty themselves, and cannot comprehend its operation upon others. Born and moving in a sphere where the chilling blasts of indigence never penetrate, or the clouds of adversity appall, they have no conception of the more delightful gratification which springs from the source of all earthly happiness, the pleasure and ability of administering to the wants and comforts of our fellow creatures. Yours is the true philosophy of nature, aunt, said Horatio, where principle and practice may be seen, arm in arm, like the twin sisters, Charity and Virtue, pair of antique curiosities much sought after, but rarely found amid the assemblage of virtu in the collections of your modern people of fashion. I'll alter my will tomorrow morning, thought my aunt. This boy deserves to be as rich in acres as he already is in benevolence. He shall have the Leicestershire estate added to what I have already bequeathed him by way of codicil. You would be delighted with my friend Bernard, aunt, said Horatio. That is, when he is in good spirits. But you must not judge of him by the common standard of estimation. If, on the first introduction, he should happen to be in one of those lively humors when his whole countenance is lighted up with the brilliancy of genius, you would be enraptured by the sallies of his wit and the solidity of his reasoning. But if, on the contrary, he should unfortunately be in one of those abstracted moods when all terrestrial objects are equally indifferent, you will, I fear, form no very favorable opinion of his merit. He is an eccentric in every respect, and must not be judged of by the acquaintance of an hour. We were boys together at Eton, and the associations of youth ripened with maturity into the most sincere, friendly attachment, which was materially assisted by the similarity of our dispositions and pursuits during our residence at college. Your kind notice of my poor friend, aunt, has revived the fondest recollections of my life, the joyous scenes of infancy, when the young heart, free from the trammels of the world and buoyant as the bird of spring, wings along the flowery path of pleasure, plucking atwill the sweets of nature, and decking his infant brow with wreaths of fresh gathered wild flowers. Horatio paused, not for want of subject, but a train of recollections overpowered his memory, producing an unspeakable sensation, which for a moment choked his utterance. There is a blank in this work, which you shall fill up, said my aunt. You must perform the office of an impartial historian for your friend, and before we proceed farther with this volume, give me the history of your schoolboy days. Schoolboy reminiscences. Owen early friendship,